Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zeng here, and welcome to week 1 of the WBE. The WBE is another single draft league on YouTube. Obviously, I've been part of the GBA for the last 2 seasons, and that's about to come to a close with week 10 going up tomorrow. I didn't upload my week 9 game because I didn't have time to do a post-recording, but I will be uploading that later tomorrow morning as well. So there'll be 2 GBA uploads tomorrow. But yeah, this is week 1 of the WBE. It's got 28 coaches in total, I believe, split into 2 divisions. Some really great players and great Pokemon YouTubers in general. So kind of excited to just explore the singles draft league a little bit more. I had a great start to the GBA, but kind of had a rough couple of last weeks. Week 10, I'm playing my week 10 game tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes. But either way, I joined these leagues to really just get more experience going into Sword and Shield, because I want to do, definitely do some more draft leagues once we head into the newer gens. And yeah, so pretty exciting. My draft for WBE, unfortunately, I was actually literally the last pick in the draft, which, there are some upsides because it was a snake draft, so I can at least get 2 Pokemon at a time. But it meant that I didn't really have some great higher tier picks. Overall, I drafted a team that I thought was pretty fun. I actually got Mamoswine and Kartana again, which were staple members of my GBA team, so I kind of want to build around those, and we got some more fun members on the team. So, this week we're up against Galactic Elliot, who is the coach of the Chicago Cubchews. I didn't really know what to expect going into this week, and in team building, I definitely underestimated the Sandslash and the Mantine as, potential users to both set up, mainly Sandslash setting up Stealth Rocks, and then the potential Defog ability and Rapid Spin ability. So, my game plan going into this week was, okay, let's try to set up Rocks. If I can knock out the Mantine, then nothing on his team resists Earthquake, and Scarf Mamoswine can kind of just clean house with Earthquake around. I was pretty worried about the Scolipede, so I actually ran Focus Sash on both Kartana and the Lycanroc, mainly to be able to take an attack and then get a KO in return, because I was running Aerial Ace on Kartana and Stone Edge on the Lycanroc. I really thought about running Z Lycanroc, but I was like just pretty scared of the Scolipede, and I wanted to have 2 answers to effectively deal with it. So going into team preview, he ended up bringing most of the members I expected. Definitely the Hoopa, the Scolipede, the Ampharos, and the Ninetales were all things I anticipated. I had a really bulky Rotom as well, so I figured I could, take an attack. It was speedy as well. It outspeed most of the things on his team, and I had Pain Split as well to really redistribute the damage. I had a Selgor with the Z move just to really clean up things. With the Z move, you can one-shot, obviously, the Hoopa, but once everything gets a little bit of chip damage onto it, it does a lot. So that was kind of the game plan: distribute damage around, get rid of the Scolipede if possible, get rid of Mantine as early as I can, so that paves the way for Mamoswine to sweep and kind of go from there. I was also running just like a bulky Conkeldurr. So yeah, I felt decent about this matchup, but when we went into team preview, I'm like, oh man, I didn't prepare well enough for Sandslash. And I didn't run Defog on this Rotom, which I think was a mistake. I just didn't really anticipate him bringing Sandslash, because I thought it was a pretty tough Pokemon to bring into this matchup. And lo and behold, he actually leads with it as well. So I was kind of frustrated by this, because I could have led with either Mamoswine or Kartana, but I decided to go with my Lycanroc, just because I anticipated him maybe going with Scolipede. So that obviously doesn't work out, and I do pivot out to Mamoswine immediately, and he does set up the Stealth Rock. So that makes my life a lot harder, because now effectively I lose the item on both my Lycanroc and Kartana by not having brought Defog into this matchup. So kind of kicking myself for underestimating the Sandslash, and also kicking myself because I really didn't think he would lead with it. So he switches in Mamoswine, or sorry, I switch in Mamoswine. He brings in the Ninetales, and I just go for Ice Skull Crash, because I know it can do some pretty solid damage, and it does over 50%. Enough where it looks like it might be a 2-hit KO even with the leftovers recovering. I'm like, if I can just get rid of the Mantine early on, that'd be great. So I go for another Ice Skull Crash, and yeah, the first one looks like it did just over 56% or so, and this next one it comes so close, but unfortunately it falls short, and he does have Roost, so he's going to be able to heal back, plus leftovers. So at this point, I'm not confident I'll actually be able to get the knockout onto a Mantine. So that was really unfortunate. Had we just picked up the knockout there, would have, obviously checked a huge Pokemon and just gotten rid of it right from the start. So now that he's healing back, I'm not confident I'll get the knockout, so I feel like this is a pretty free opportunity to switch into my Rotom. And he actually goes for the Scald this turn. I kind of was underestimating the Scald potential there, so it does a lot of damage to Rotom, but I am running the bulky berry. And I'm okay with Rotom taking damage in this game because I have Pain Split and I'm faster than almost everything on his team, so it's okay to have lost my berry there. Either way, I'm in a position now where obviously I've got Rotom against Mantine, so he's kind of forced to switch out. This is where I wish I really brought Defog. That really would have saved me, I think, a lot, but unfortunately I just didn't prep well enough and didn't tech it on for this set. So I go for the Will-O-Wisp because he's most definitely not staying in with Mantine, and whatever comes in, getting free residual damage is quite nice, and I can just Volt Switch out the next turn because I'm pretty much faster than everything. So the Ampharos comes in, and yeah, I'm okay with that. So I just get the free opportunity to go for a Volt Switch, so I've gotten some chip damage off onto it. It's burned as well, and I can pivot out into my Assault Vest Conkeldurr, which I've got waiting on the back. So I know that this game is going to be harder to win now because I didn't bring Defog onto Rotom, and the rocks are up, but I know I can. This is still definitely a doable game. That being said, my early game priority was to set up rocks on my side, and I still haven't gotten that up, so that's also kind of a downside, but I feel okay about my positioning. The Ampharos is just going to go for the Dragon Pulse here, and AV Conkeldurr takes that with over half, so I can just go for Drain Punch now. But it still did more than I anticipated, honestly, given that I'm like max HP. So, and a little bit of special defense investment. Drain Punch does a great amount of damage there, though, and I'm revealed to be faster than the Ampharos, so lots of good stuff coming out there as Ampharos decides to just pivot out with the Volt Switch. But I'm glad to get that much chip damage onto the Ampharos, enough where pretty much anything else I have on this team will knock it out. So pretty decent start as the Mantine actually just comes back in. So I'm actually not too worried about Mantine with the Assault Vest. I know that I can take a hit from it, and I actually am running Stone Edge on this Conkeldurr, so I decided to stay in and just go for Stone Edge. Scald comes out, doesn't get the knockout, fortunately, and Stone Edge does come out and pick up the knockout on the Mantine. So pretty happy about that. Mantine wasn't able to do too much all in all, and like I mentioned earlier in the game, I wanted to get rid of Mantine to pave the way for Mamoswine really to clean up this game. So the Sandslash comes out, and I decided to just Mach Punch, scout out for what it wants to do, get some chip damage, and it just goes for an Earthquake. So that will pick up the knockout onto Conkeldurr, but Conkeldurr wasn't really doing too much at this point anyway. I could have maybe saved it, but I didn't really have a great switch it into Earthquake other than Rotom, and I wasn't sure what the Sandslash, like whether he was going to go for a Predict and maybe go for like a Rock type attack. So yeah. It gives me the free opportunity, however, to bring back Mamoswine, which obviously he pressures out the Sandslash. So this next turn, I gotta decide, do I just go for an Ice Cold Crash? I could also launch an Earthquake or a Stealth Rock. I'm not sure exactly what he wants to go for, but I figure that this is a pretty safe opportunity to actually go for the Rocks. So I've gotten the Rocks up, which I was hoping to prioritize a little bit earlier on in the game, but at least they're up now. However, obviously the downside is I am running Scarf Mamoswine, so I'm actually forced to pivot the Mamoswine back out. Fine with me, though. That's okay. I actually decided to bring in Lycanroc. I was like, okay, I should be able to take like an attack from this Ampharos, but he actually goes for the Dragon Pulse, excuse me. And that actually gets the knockout onto Lycanroc after the rock. So I kind of underestimated the damage output there. Obviously, Lycanroc's not the bulkiest Pokemon, but yeah, that is kind of frustrating because it is one of the Pokemon that can at least put on a little bit more pressure against the Scolipede. But I bring in Kartana now because I know I can pretty much just get a clean knockout here. So I go for X-Scissor. I did carry X-Scissor specifically for the Hoopa, so get the knockout there. I figured now, however, I've lost my best answer against the Scolipede, and my Kartana doesn't have its Focus Sash. So basically the two ways I had to beat the Scolipede, I no longer really have as great options. So Scolipede comes in. Rock's damage is obviously good, but I'm thinking here maybe he just goes for, yeah, I don't know what he had, and he actually had HP Fire, so I went just for the Aerial Ace here because I wanted to scout out the moveset. If he went for a Superpower, then that could at least pave the way for my Mamoswine because he got -1 attack, and he wouldn't be able to knock me out. So yeah, he actually had HP Fire, which I honestly didn't even consider as an option, and I really should have because that was like a pretty obvious option. So at this point, I'm pretty scared, especially if his Superpower just knocks out my Mamoswine here. But instead, he just goes for Mega Horn, making me think maybe he didn't have Superpower. Either way, Mamoswine takes that, and I go for a Stone Edge, and fortunately enough, it does connect. So the game is now 3-3. Mamoswine's taken a lot of damage, but it can still close out this game easily for me. So yeah. Feeling pretty decent about that as Sandslash comes back in. So I know he's got Sandslash, Hoopa, and Ninetales at this point, and I'm like, okay, Sandslash really isn't doing any damage. Ninetales shouldn't be able to really touch Rotom too much, so it basically comes down to knocking out this Hoopa. As Rotom will come in and takes rock damage, and Rapid Spin actually comes out from the Sandslash. Not too surprising there, that was a free opportunity to Rapid Spin, but still okay for me. And now at this point, I'm like, okay, Sand Slash doesn't look like it really has too much offense outside of that Earthquake, so this is a free opportunity for me to actually heal back a little bit and go for a Pain Split. So the Hoopa comes in, and Pain Split's able to actually heal a lot here, as I'm able to also do some good damage onto the Hoopa. So obviously, pretty content about that. At this point, I'm not really sure what to expect from the Hoopa, and the Z move actually comes out, and I was like, whoa, what Z move is this? Because I'm obviously going to be faster, so it's got to be some, like, priority boosting Z move. So it's actually the Z Snatch, which gives it +2 speed, which I did not anticipate at all, nor did I prepare for. So that kind of puts a dent into my strategy here. I really wasn't expecting that. I go for the Overheat, and it does really good damage, and I think at this point, yeah, I'm not sure if another one will knock out, and I kind of had a mental brain fart, and I was like, oh, I've got Ice Shard on Mamoswine, so I can just Volt Switch into Mamoswine, click Ice Shard, sack the Aselgor, and I can just clean the game up with Mamoswine. But then I bring in the Mamoswine, and I realize I don't actually have Ice Shard. So I'm not sure what made me just not double check the Mamoswine. Like, I'd been confident that I did have it, but obviously, like, I was running Rocks and Stone Edge on this set, so yeah. Just really a careless mistake on my end, because that was something I could have double checked. And at this point, because he's at +2 speed with the Hoopa, he can just knock out everything. So huge misplay on my end there, and kind of a throw to have not gone for the Overheat with the Rotom, because it looked like I was going to be able to knock it out with Overheat. If not, then I would have been game anyway, but you know, that at least was an out. So yeah, I kind of had a brain fart there. Didn't even check my Mamoswine's moveset because I was confident I had Ice Shard, and then I brought it in. I was like, wow, like this was not the Ice Shard Mamoswine that I had on Scarf Mamoswine a bunch. So yeah, pretty bad misplay there. A really nice prep on his end to bring the Z Snatch Hoopa, just something that I was not anticipating, and the speed was obviously huge for him. I think had Rotom stayed in and gotten the knockout, you're pretty much forced to bring out Ninetales, and I'm not sure a Ninetales had an attack that could actually knock out the Rotom, and I could have just Pain Splitted. If it didn't have an attack that would be able to knock out the Rotom, Pain Split would heal me all the way back up. He would obviously take a lot of damage, and the Ninetales would be an Earthquake KO range from the Mamoswine. So I was okay with how I played up until that point. I just have no idea why I went for the Volt Switch, and why I didn't double check Mamoswine's moveset. Like, I really should have. I was just so confident I'd Ice Shard, but it didn't make sense that I would, because I was running Rocks, Icicle Crash, or, Stealth Rock, Stone Edge, and Earthquake was going to be my last attack. So yeah, just a really big blunder there on my end, but you know, I'm still making a lot of mistakes in singles and draft league, and I feel like overall I had an okay game plan. So I learned two things from this game, right? One, I need to prepare for the things even if I don't expect them to bring. Like, not having defog on Rotom an option was just a mistake, because it's not like I needed like, I wanted Pain Split. I probably didn't need Will-O-Wisp, to be honest, because his team wasn't very physically based. Hoopa was like the one thing that I wasn't sure what he was going to be running. So Will-O-Wisp covered that option, but I think I could have gotten away with the moveset like Overheat, Volt Switch, Defog, and Pain Split. So it was a big mistake not to have run Defog on Rotom, because that basically lost my Sash on both Kartana and Lycanroc, and led to them getting one-hit KO'd. If I had Sash on both, I would have been able to switch in Lycanroc into the Ampharos, taking an attack. Like, the turn that Rotom went for the Will-O-Wisp onto Ampharos, yeah, I had the big opportunity to go for a Defog if I had it there, and that would have paved the way for both Lycanroc and Kartana. You know, Kartana would have been able to Aerial Ace and knock out the Scolipede, especially being at +1, and then it would have been fast enough to just knock out everything on his team. He pretty much would have been forced to bring in the Ninetales and maybe deal with the speed tie. So yeah, really bad blunder on my end in team building not to have brought Defog. Even so, the game was pretty close up until I kind of choked it away by not going for a second Overheat. Yeah, I was thinking maybe Volt Switch could also pick up the knockout, but that wouldn't have made much sense given that I was already at -2 special attack. So I don't think Volt Switch is ever knocking out there. So yeah, I just kind of had a mental brain fart there, which obviously feels bad. But I think had I gone for the Overheat, the game would have been really interesting, because if Ninetales doesn't have a way to just knock out Rotom from the range that it's in, if I can take like a single target Blizzard and heal all the way back up, then I think the game is over and I win. If not, then I sack the Rotom, I probably bring in the Mamoswine and just go for Earthquake, and then it's a question of whether the Aselgor on my end can do enough to knock out both his Mamoswine, or sorry, his Ninetales and the Sand Slash. Another option I could have actually gone for was, instead of bringing in Mamoswine first, I can bring in Sand Slash, bring in my Aselgor, maybe go for, I was running the Bug Z move, which doesn't do too much, but maybe that plus Icicle Crash from Adamant Mammal can get the knockout onto Ninetales. Not too sure about that. Either way, yeah, feels bad for having gone for just like a major misplay in the Volt Switch, that effectively sealed up my fate. Like I brought in Amazon, I was like, oh wait, I don't have Ice Shard, and there's no reason for me to not have double checked that beforehand, so just carelessness on my end. But good game to Elliot. Yeah, I felt like I had a great matchup in this week, and ultimately there was no excuse for me to have lost this one, but I think a loss like this teaches me a lot as well, so I definitely need to be a little bit better with my defog options, especially if I'm running 2 Sash users. The only Stealth Rock user on his team was Sandslash, and I was like, is he really going to bring Sandslash in a match where I've got like Mamoswine and Kartana? Ultimately, the answer was yes. Yeah, not knocking out the Mantire earlier on was unfortunate, but you can't complain too much about that. I also like was just really kicking myself for not leading either Kartana or Mamoswine. Both of those would have been pretty great leads actually. And ultimately, I was too like sidetracked into thinking he was going to lead with Scolipede. And I think part of that was because I lost to Scolipede in GBA just the week before, which is kind of funny. So, yeah. Good game to Elliot, though. Sorry to disappoint you guys, because this was definitely a winnable matchup, and felt like I played okay, but really a little bit lapsed in team building, and definitely the major misplay in going for the Volt Switch, so that was pretty bad. The Z Hoopa just completely caught me off guard, but 2 overheats should have sealed up the deal, so yeah, sometimes you just make those really big misplays and mistakes, and you just have to learn from them. So obviously I was like pretty tilted after that, because I was like, wow, this was such a winnable game, and I don't know what I was thinking by not double checking Mamoswine's moveset, but definitely will be sure to do that moving on into the future. Also in the future, I'm going to do my best to do as many live recordings as I can. So for reference, I started an internship, and like I'm out of my house basically from 7 o'clock all the way until like 9 to 9:30 because of my work hours and for commute. So because of that reason, I often have to play these games kind of late at night, and I don't want to do live recordings for them because I don't want to wake anyone in my family up. So yeah, depending on what I play, if I get to play my opponents on the weekends, then I should be able to do live recordings. If not, then it'll be a little bit harder to do because yeah, like there are just a lot of people in the house, and I don't want to wake them up by playing Pokemon. So hopefully we'll see what we can do going into the future. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this game. Yeah, definitely very sad. One of the bigger mistakes I'd say I've made in Draft League in the last couple of weeks in playing Draft League, but you live and you learn, and that will remind me to double check all my movesets every time before I make an attack, so yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Go check out Elliot, great guy. It was a pleasure playing him, and I'll see you guys. First of all, tomorrow I'm uploading 2 GBA games, so I'll be uploading my game from last week against Jolt, and then I also am playing Tom for the Week 10 game. So yeah, lots of singles Draft League content coming your way right now. I'm not very good, obviously, but I'm learning, and that's the most important thing, and that's the reason why I joined these Draft Leagues. So yeah, major mistakes made this week. We'll try not to make them again. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys soon. Alright, peace.